Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ORL Online Racing League with me, CRG Geo George Morgan, back on your screens yet again. Hashtag pedal to the metal here on Sunday night. I'm afraid it's just me. Me is all you've got tonight. Jack unfortunately can't be here. He's got another commentary gig that he's got lined up tonight, a big endurance race. But the action does not stop here because we are at Russia. And I got to say, it's an exciting track. Obviously, lots of thrills and spills. Not sure whether you guys saw Thursday Thunder last Thursday. But of course, we raced at Russia. VSR Thyman won it in clinical fashion. And once again, he's here today in A-Split for the first time in his ORL career. We're looking forward to seeing how Thyman gets on. He's just made the Split, the Split A debut on the PC now. He started on his PC for the very first time on Thursday, capturing his first victory ever in league racing. I mean, what a start. One from one right from the get-go, which I think is absolutely unbelievable. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone that is dropping by to watch today's Russian Grand Prix. It's going to be an absolute clinic, an absolute epic. Of course, Yana Watmir is our driver's champion, but that does not stop the racing continuing. Of course, lots to play for and certainly lots to drive for as well. I just want to say a big, well, I just want to make a little, or say a few words, should we say. Obviously, today we saw events that probably we were not expecting in Formula One. Obviously, the race itself, we know that motorsport can be dangerous. There's a lot on the line. And when it comes to racing, obviously, it's such quick speeds. Accidents do happen. You put your body on the line in order to get the best result you possibly can. The drivers are aware of the risks involved, but nobody likes to see incidents that happened out there today. And that, for me, in my 28 years of being on this planet, I have never once seen an incident quite like that before. Obviously, the death of Ayrton Senna for me was just before I started really understanding what F1 was all about. I just came in after that, obviously, when Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve were driving for Williams as such. But at the same time, we saw what happened with Gilles Bianchi, but I've never ever seen a roaring inferno quite like that. And Romain Grosjean is so lucky to be alive. And I think I can speak for everybody to say that we're so relieved that he came out of that incident unscathed. And we wish Romain and all his family the very best. We hope that they're all keeping well and safe, and they'll be back up to speed very, very soon. But I've got to say, folks, it's great to be back, and at least we got the race done and out the way with Lewis Hamilton clinching victory once again. And of course, hopefully now tonight we can make some ORL action and certainly put some smiles on your faces there at home. Of course, I'm looking forward to that. Vulcan Racer, George, how are you? Vulcan Racer, I'm very well, thank you. Of course, I'm enjoying my Sunday evening, very much like I hope you guys are as well. Just Eva, of course, hello to yourself. The Pogmere Academy out in force here tonight. Obviously, Yana Watmir looking to continue his winning streak. Mickey de Capua, obviously a relation of Alessio. Hello, guys. Taj, hello. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all keeping well. And I'm so glad that we have such a... We're very fortunate, I think, here at ORL to have such a great fan base. And I think, you know, we thank each and every one of you for stopping by every week to the streams. It's really, really heartwarming. You excited for another Yano win? Who knows? Who knows who's going to win? We got so many class drivers here today. VSR Thyman really impressed everybody on Thursday night at Thursday Thunder. I commentated on that race with Panther, and that was at the Sochi circuit, the Sochi Autodromo as well. And that was a phenomenal race. I got to say, Thyman was pretty much untouched. George, what's your thoughts on making ORL for PS4, PS5? Ooh, well, I could not comment on that, to be honest, Falcon Racer. I mean, the majority of the team are very much involved on the PC side. There is no real console, certainly console leaders, should we say, in ORL. We tend to leave that to the guys in PSGL as such. You know, they tend to do it quite well. Matteo, hello, commentators. Very good comment. Thank you very much. Thumbs up to you too, my good man. Great to have you in the chat. I hope you all caught as well. We had a tremendous interview earlier on in the week, well, on the weekend, just before, on Saturday morning with TRL Limitless. JD, of course, he likes to make himself known in the chat from time to time. An astonishing human being, a great guy, and certainly a master in the world of esports. He has certainly managed to govern a very, very good Sauber team this season, and I got to say what they do is superb. And I think I from what respect I had from TRL Limitless, I have uber more than I did before. He's such a great human being, and I really hope you will all check out that interview we did with JD, because he was absolutely unreal to talk to. Interesting to obviously relay his movements up into the world of esports, and obviously his life leading up to the top. Conor Braden, what split is Thyman in? He is in split A. I am commentating on Thyman here today. Very much looking forward to seeing what he can do in amongst these grid of drivers. Obviously, we're just waiting for the lobby to start. Iceman14, hello to you too. Hope you're keeping well. I'm responding to everybody here today. Can Thyman win again today, or will the likes of Jana Watmir, Alessio Di Capua, or maybe Matthias be contenders for today's victory? All of them have a chance, Falcon. All of them have a chance, and they're not the only ones as well. Taj Zaletel, watched that interview yesterday. Great interview. Thank you, Taj. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think what me and JD wanted to do was just to sort of give you something a little bit casual, coffee table discussion, just, you know, throw it all out onto the table. I don't like going down the road of a structured, silly interview and, you know, and sort of doing stuff that's a little bit forced. I like to do something casual, a little bit more relaxed. You know, me and JD, we had a great conversation. We sort of just hummed and drummed right through his career, and it was superb. I couldn't have wished it to go any better. Just Eva, active George is always good, George. Active George is always good. Yes, active me is good. I enjoy being active. It's certainly great, and I much prefer to be busy than not busy, guys. So, you know, please keep throwing your requests through. It's amazing to have a commentator to reply to people's comments. Shows commentators are good at interacting with fans. Hey, Valken, we'd be nothing without the fans, mate. I got to say, I'm very lucky to have you guys in the chat, because it means a lot. And obviously at ORL, we rely on you guys to sort of come in and support us. And it's key. And to be honest with you, all I want to do is put a smiley faces, you know, for just even an hour or two on a Sunday night. If we can leave Sunday with a smile on our face heading into a Monday morning, can't say more than that. You know, that's what we like to do. And I think that's what's important. And I can tell you it means a lot having you comment and read up on the stream. Yeah, to be honest with you, I rarely do it because, of course, myself and Jack usually look at the track facts and all that. But obviously, you know, Jack's not here, and it's nice to talk to you guys. You guys are like my co-commentators here today. ORL is a good thing now since NASCAR season is over. Woo! You know, we're a good thing. The best in F1 esports, though. But we like NASCAR too. We're just waiting, folks, on a new lobby, because I think we've had a few problems, I think, with the game, so do bear with me. We will be right back. I'm still going to be showing on stream, so don't mind me. It's just I think we're having a bit of a lobby delay. And indeed, I've just had the new one arrive to me now, so hopefully we will be back. I was Kayla on Thursday, Thunder. Thoughts of my performance? Yes, very impressed, Connor. Very impressed. Good to see you in the chat as well. It was a good race, very different to what we're used to seeing. I think, obviously, there were a lot of new drivers coming in. Of course, Thursday Thunder is a brand new initiative thrown out by ORL. We want to assess up-and-coming talent. You know, we're not stopping here with the drivers we've got here. We want to bring through the next big things to compete in the world of esports. And I think we're doing that well. And obviously, we address that with TRL Limitless. Sauber Esports are doing the same thing as well. They're trying to push new talent as well. Mattis has just been taken on by the development driver team. You know, he's going to be trying to progress Sauber Esports as well as the current crop of drivers they've got. They've got a very, very strong development team of Sauber, very much like, you know, most of the teams in F1 Esports. Williams do it well as well. And we'll be bringing an announcement as well very soon as to who our second guest on the podcast will be. And you might get a vibe that was related in some way. It is. This is such an interesting grid. Can anyone can take the win? It certainly is. It's a phenomenal grid. We're very lucky. And I got to say, you want to see the lobby we've got here now. You'll see it very shortly. We've got certainly some hardened professionals here today. And a few familiar faces that we haven't seen in a little while creeping back into the lobby, which I'm very looking forward to. But I got to say, folks, it's going to be a classic. I want to hear your comments as to who you think is going to win the Russian GP. Let's hope the stream holds up this week, George. Don't have to decipher that. I'm hoping so. Yes, obviously, apologies, folks, on the previous stream. We've gone through it. We think we've solved the problem, but I don't want to jinx it, so let's not do that. But thank you, Ian Smith. I got to say, the support from you guys was phenomenal from Singapore. I do appreciate it. If I feel I need to apologise, I always apologise if I know there's a problem. Taj Leto, best lap time would be around the 1:29, something like that, right? Probably yes. Maybe even a 1:28. I think we started seeing Thyman creep into the 1:28. Jarno Alessio, ooh, I tell you what, Taj is thinking that Jarno Alessio have got this in the bag. You know, I gotta say, Alessio has been very impressive. Has obviously come under a certain bit of scrutiny for his racecraft and driving style, but I've got to say, he has really improved since he started ORL, and I can see him going on to do great things as long as he can keep it up. Falcon Racer, what was Thyman's pole lap time on Thursday? It was in the 1:28. There were only 2 drivers that made it into the 1:28, which was phenomenal. Of course, Thyman did the 1:28 in his first lap in the first few minutes of qualifying, and it pretty much stayed there. No one else could touch him until the track warmed up towards the end, and I think there was one other driver that did a 1:28 as well. But that was only due to the fact that the track was warming up, which is quite sensational, really. And that is why Thyman is in Split A here today as well, and he very much deserves it as well. But yeah, incredibly quick. We got some very quick drivers here in ORL. Majority of them are esports professionals, a lot of them driving in the Pro Series as well. We got the likes of Jarno Watmir, of course, Barry Burremand, and many more. But you'll see them now. We'll obviously go through them in qualifying. I'm looking forward to obviously bringing them to you folks. Lots to talk about, of course, as to the way the championship is stacked at the moment. That Jarno Watmir is the champion. Danny Moreno also. Yes, absolutely right, Tage. And we'll be bringing you live action now. The clock is ticking now, folks. The session will be starting shortly, so we will be able to get out on track at Sochi and start calling in some real quick lap times. We're going to be seeing some severe drama. I can tell you that now. We have got so many good drivers here at ORL, and certainly all of them have every right to challenge for victory this weekend. I want to see your top 3, folks. Who do you think is going to win the Sochi Grand Prix? You know, I'm not going to give you the benefit of seeing the qualifying times before we do any predictions. I want to know who you think is going to win the Russian Grand Prix. Come on, list them in the chat, folks. I want to see them. I'll read them out as we go, as we head into qualifying. Come on, show them to me. There's plenty of you in the chat, surely. You can all give me a taster as to what you think is going to be our grid order. We got Tage, Zalatel, Jarno Watmir, Alessio Di Capua, and let's see Moreno. 3 very quick drivers indeed. Thyman for Connor Braden. Just Eva, Jarno. Jarno's going to take P1, 2, and 3, according to Eva. That'll be an interesting one. Willem Shoot, Thyman. Thyman goes to Willem Shoot. Thanks for the message there, Willem. Falcon Racer, Alessio for the win. Interesting shout. P2 for Moreno. Jarno in P3. Mattis in P4. Thyman in P5. It's going to be an interesting one, folks. Thyman, I'm very intrigued to see what his pace was like. I know we commentated, myself and Panther, on the fact that Thyman could well be one of the top guys to come through. He certainly is one of the hot prospects in F1 at this moment in time. And I'm pleased to say as well, folks, the drivers are just about to make their way out onto the grid as well. So we'll be able to make a start on looking at commentary. So Valkyrie Racer saying Alessio, Moreno, Jarno, Mattis, and Thyman. Without any further ado, folks, shall we go to the grid? It's going to be an interesting one. You can see that we just heard from Lewis Welch that rain for the whole race is here. We're seeing Danny Moreno make his way out onto the track to get started in this pleasurable affair. Sorry, folks, we will get the coverage up on your screens now shortly. It just takes a little bit of time to warm up on our screens as we now witness Danny Moreno making his way down onto the track. Great to have him on board, of course. And indeed, my wireless controller disconnected. That's a good start. We are back in the room. Sorry about that, folks. The wonders of computing as we now see Danny Moreno making his way around towards the next right-hander. That, of course, being that hellacious turn 4, heading down now towards turn 5. And Danny Moreno, who's had a very, very good season so far, and of course his debut season, and has been up there for dancing. 3 wins amassed in Netherlands, Monaco and Azerbaijan. He has certainly done himself credit as Danny Moreno and has done incredible work in achieving some real good numbers in qualifying, that's for sure. He by every right deserves to be up there for dancing in the top end. Hopefully now we'll get some game audio as well, folks. It'll be right with us very shortly. And here we go. Yes, it should be on now, folks. Do apologise. Just wait for the hotkey to register. And Danny Moreno now makes his way around the next right-hander. Through the next left, the McLaren is looking ever prominent. I got to say, as long as he keeps the track limits on to himself, he should be absolutely fine. Just makes his way through Sector 3 now. And he'll have the paddock on the right-hand side. And we will do a hot lap with Danny Moreno here today. Looking forward to seeing what this man can do, of course. This track, the Sochi circuit, usually it is going to be, well, it was founded in 2014, but it's got plenty of high-speed corners. He now enters the straight now, and you've got a very, very, very tricky turn one. This is where a lot of accidents can happen. A lot of blind spots here around Russia as he makes his way down towards turn 2 now. You'll have a very, very stiff 90-degree right-hander. Brakes just after the 100 into the right-handed curve on the outset. Just brushes the left. Oh, my word, a little bit of oversteer there, but he was very, very lucky. Nearly lost all the grip as he rounds turn 3, and very soon he'll be landing down towards turn 4. Turn 4, of course, very, very tricky. You can run wide and get an invalidation, but he's okay. Into turn 6 and down into turn 7, which he'll then brush the curb once again on the outset, pushing all he can down towards what will be turn into turn, well, that's turn 7, sorry, into what will be now turns 8, and very soon round turn 9. This one being here, this just a little kink, that one, into turn 10 now, 90 degree, and now he's got a long stretch to deal with. This is where the DRS will become activated on the back straight around turn 11, and then of course later you've got turn 12 and 13. Comes round through these final few corners now into the sector 3 now, and round into turn 14. Turn 15 now beckons, which will lead him into turn 15 and 16, and a semi-straight leading him down towards 17, and where you can see the actual pit grid now. As he walks through, he's going to take the channel into the paddock. It's not going to be here for Danny Moreno, but Barry Burman is your P1 sitter for the time being, a 129.146. Do not be surprised, folks, if they go quicker than that. Nicholas Matteo not far behind, only 5/10. This classy young Alfa Romeo driver has been very impressive recently. Gets home there in the 129s as well. And CRG Mattis responds with a 129.487. Alessio Di Capua still in the pit. Casper Janssen joining us here once again as well. Obviously taking his seat in the Renault alongside VSR Thyman. Let's see what Casper can do. Of course, part of the Renault esports team. Making his way down this stretch now, down towards this next right. And this is when he'll have to take this little kink to the right now into what will be yet another right-hand bend. And as he does so, turn 7 into what will be turn 8 and 9. And as he does so, just literally powers down, brushes out, pulls out, should I say, looking ever prominent. Wants to use every apex possible. Swallow the track as best you can to maximise your pace. As he now makes his way down the long back stretch now, round towards turn 11. You can see there Nicholas Matteo moving alongside to let the Renault through. Of course, Renault Vitality have a very good team this year in esports, made up, of course, of Nicholas Longate, Fabrizio Donoso, and Casper Janssen. Simon Vigan goes up into P3 for Haas as well, a 129.458. Casper Janssen coming round the next right-hander now. And let's see what he can post as he makes his way down towards the final couple of bends. He is going to register this one as he comes round, and this looks pretty solid from Casper Janssen. Very smooth indeed. Renault have a very, very stiff training regime, but that's going to be, I think, an invalidation. But a 129.5 is all he could register. Thyman as well coming around Sector 3 as well. So very soon we're going to be seeing his first lap here in a split. A little bit of oversteer there. Very nearly losing the car coming round the next few bends now. The yellow Renault looking to power in dominance here at Russia. Let's hope that Thyman can do the biz. No, he's coming into the pit lane. Not happy with the lap set as Lucas UK comes round as well. Jarno Watmere taking the top end with a 129.080. Great lap there from Jarno this early on in qualifying. But we can firmly expect these times to come crashing down in the latter stages of quali. As we now see Lucas UK coming down through Sector 3. This time the McLaren team looking to follow on from what their official F1 team have done this season. They've been absolutely tremendous. I mean, today they picked up 2 very strong positions, Ps 4 and 5, which was absolutely astonishing. Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz doing the team credit. Let's see if Lucas UK can do the same as they come round the final corner. Lucas UK here now and notches P3, a 129.447. Very good there from Lucas UK to go quicker than Simon Viegang. And of course CRG Mathis. Just look at those delta times, folks. Very minimal gaps in between the grid. And it's astonishing to see is now Danny Moreno, who's out on a fast lap as well for McLaren. Let's see if he can notch together one as well. Alessio Di Capua is still yet to notch his numbers on the board. Casper Janssen out as well. He's coming back into the pit lane. Casper just cannot seem to get the ball rolling for himself at the moment. As we're now seeing Ruben Vallejo as well for Williams out on track. He's in Sector 1. Danny Haddad is out on track as well for Racing Point. Of course, Racing Point on the end of some real difficult results here today at Bahrain. Just did not go to plan for them, as we now see Alessio making his way around the track. Sven Noller just letting the Ferrari by the prancing horse. And oh, just hear that skid there. A little bit of a lockup, I think, there from Alessio Di Capua. He now makes his way around the next right-hander. This, of course, will lead him down towards turn 12 and turn 13. The prancing horse of the Ferrari, Alessio Di Capua, looking to continue his recent great stretch of form. He has been absolutely astonishing for the team this season. Picked up his first maiden win, and you'll be very glad of that as well, as we now see Alessio coming down towards the next right-hander. The Italian driver looking to wow spectators once again with his extraordinary pace. Comes down to the final corner now. Alessio Di Capua, what's he going to hit this time? P3, knocks down Lucas UK there with a 129.365. A very good lap indeed, and literally around 2/10 behind Barry Burremand, who is in P2. And currently on a flying lap, looking to knock down Jarno Watmere off the top spot. And he's got a 10th, pretty much a 10th, or just under, sorry, a 10th of a second. Do apologise there, folks, to gallop back on the Flying Dutchman. Let's see what Barry Burremand can shake up here at the Circuit of Russia as he makes his way down towards the next right-hander. Of course, the Black Arrows, the Mercedes, enjoying a very rich season in real Formula 1. Of course, Valtteri Bottas didn't have the best of days today. But Barry Burremand, as he makes his way around the next right-hander, just goes wide there. I'm not sure what that's going to do to his lap time. Could well be an invalidation. Comes around towards the next right-hander now, leading down towards turn 12 and 13. He might have got away with it as he comes down towards what will be that turn 13 into turn 14. He's really pushing here. He wants to try and knock down the Dutchman, Jarno Watmere, as he comes down towards the next left-hander, this being turn 15. Very soon, turn 16 will be beckoning. And certainly the Mercedes is going to want to try and put a spoke in the Dutchman's wheels, and indeed he comes into the pit lane not happy. I think that run wide cost him quite dearly, as we now see Mattis now making his way around here in Sector 1 as well. Haas enjoying P5 and 6 right now. Simon Vigang, of course, their F1 esports contender. He's been challenging recently and certainly seen a bit of an uphill in form. They've really struggled at the start of the season of Haas in the world of F1 esports, but Simon Vigang showed a lot of tenacity. He's had some technical issues with his wheel, which he's since corrected, and I think he's certainly seen a spike in his performances recently, which has been really good to see, as we now see Mattis now making his way down towards the next right-hander and certainly looking to cause some damage here on the classifications. Coming around the next left now, very soon he'll be making his way down towards turn 15 and 16 as well. Only 4 bends remaining here for the Haas driver, and Mattis will be looking just to notch himself. Oh, he went very wide there, that's not going to help, and indeed he dives into the pit lane. He was pushing just a little bit too hard, as we now see former ORL champ Ben Szabo now in the AlphaTauri coming down in Sector 2 as well. And he's coming down this long straight with the DRS active here for this man, of course, formerly known as Photon. A lot of people might remember him as that, as Ben Szabo comes down to the next right-hander, into the next left. Semi-chicane this is. As we saw, of course, Mattis do the same earlier on before invalidating. I've got a feeling that Ben Szabo's on a slow lap as well with a 122 already. Not happy with how things are going. Casper Janssen out on a fast lap too. Jarno Watmere is also out on one. Let's follow the Dutchman. We've yet to see him already in qualifying. We know that he obviously nestled that P1 spot. So let's see what the Dutchman can do in the Alfa Romeo. Comes down to the next right-hander here in Sector 1. He's got another straight to handle now before he gets into turn 5. And indeed registers a quicker time in Sector 1. Has gone just under a 10th faster already, so we could be seeing the Dutchman here in the 128s already at this stage of quali. Might have invalidated his lap though heading through that section. It looked pretty ominous, but we'll wait and see what his lap time brings as he comes around into Sector 2, into the middle stages, should I say. You'll soon be heading up towards turn 10. This is the long climb after turn 9, heading into turn 10, and very shortly he'll be able to go down that long stretch and get himself on the board, hopefully with a quicker lap time. This is the trick around turn 9 now, very soon. He'll be reaching that. He's in sector 3 now, should I say. He's already made that long stretch, heading round towards turn 17 now. What's Jarno going to be able to nestle here for Alfa Romeo? Oh, in fact, this is actually, I think it was an invalidation. He had to slow down his lap. It just wasn't to be. And he's coming down the stretch now, looking to restart his lap. And he did, in fact, go 2 tenths or nearly 3 tenths quicker. Unbelievable scenes there from Jarno Watmir. In fact, he did a 128.795. It didn't quite perk up as quick as I thought it would, but he's done it again. Jarno Watmir, the Flying Dutchman, 128.795 in front by a considerable margin, nearly 4 tenths of a second. There from Jarno Watmir. Thyman, who has managed to nestle himself further up the field. We spoke about this man after what happened on Thursday, and Thyman is up into P2. Welcome to ORL, VSR Thyman. What are we going to be seeing from this man? Another phenomenal phenomenal lap time from Thyman, who seems to like Russia a lot after nailing a top spot at Russia on Thursday night. He has now come here again and going to P2, but obviously all we need to talk about is Jarno Watmir. He's currently 3 tenths of a second quicker at least to VSR Thyman. Amazing scenes. The only driver in the 128s. Barry Burman now as well out on a lap, looking to really put a dent in the hopes of Jarno Watmir as he now makes his way down the stretch now. This, of course, being that long straight leading down towards turns 12 and 13. And the Black Arrow looking to once again nestle a positive result. A lock up there is not going to help. Coming down towards the next left now. Heading down towards what will be turn 15 and 16. And here we now see Barry Burman coming around the next right-hander very soon. Long stretch, or semi-stretch at least, coming down towards turn 17. Turn 18 to be after that. That's the final corner before he hits the line. What's he going to get this time? Barry Burman in the Black Arrow. Oh my word, a 128.75 word. A fly's eyelash separates him and Jarno Watmir. Blimey, Barry Burman nestles P1. Phenomenal scenes there, folks. No, none of us saw that coming. At 128, once again, scenes here at Sochi as they go quicker 2 times in the 128. I did speak of it before the start of the stream. We would go to 128. We have gone 128. Phenomenal effort there from both Barry Burman and Jarno Watmir. Absolute scenes here, folks. I cannot believe what we've just seen. And Veloci, Danny Moreno looking to possibly do the same. Can he do that? No, I don't think he can, but he's coming down towards sector 1. I think this will be a cool-down lap if I'm quite honest, but amazing. 3 minutes to go left in qualifying. Barry Burman top in the billing. 128.751. And I imagine Jarno Watmir is not going to leave that lying down. I can tell you that now. Mattis is also out on a lap as well. He's just gone into sector 1. Lucas UK out in the pits as well. Expect the drivers now to lead in a cluster now to commence the final 3 minutes of qualifying now, folks. We now see the Racing Points leave the pit bay. This is absolutely phenomenal. I want to see hashtag pedal to the metal in the live chat, folks. It's going to be absolutely crucial. But certainly given the fact that we are expecting some rain, as I can see the live chat now are posting about the rain. Vasta Racer, some have wet setups on, some dry. It's going to be a severe mix-up. Do not throw away your tickets, folks. This is going to be a phenomenal race. And that's absolutely sensational. That lap from Barry Burman, knocking Jarno Watmir down by the thinnest of margins. He's got to be pleased with that. And I can imagine certainly the Mercedes garage are going to be absolutely chuffed with that result. As we now see Mattis coming down the long stretch now, and certainly looking to once again go quicker. Just recently joined Cyber Esports, as we've discussed, driving for Haas here today though in the ORL World Championship. He's currently P6, just behind his teammate Simon Vigang. Nothing behind them really, aside from Casper Janssen, who's now up into P7. Simon's out on a lap, so Simon Vigang. We've got some true juggernauts in this grid order here today, folks. Lucas UK out and about as well. Ben Sabo looking to go quicker. Nicholas Mateo, we know he can go quicker, that's for sure. He hasn't set a lap since his initial one of 129.620. CRG Mattis, we've lost him there. I'm not sure what's happened, but he is out of qualifying. And I'm not sure what this could mean. I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to see what happened, but amazing scenes nonetheless. I cannot believe he's ended it so early. I do not think that's a voluntary DNF, but Danny Moreno has already retired as well. Whether that's just a tactical maneuver, seeing as the rain is coming in. Obviously, drivers not expecting to go much quicker than what they already have done, as we now see Casper around in the next right-hander. All the drivers are out on outlaps, folks. And we're now seeing Jarno Watmir coming round the next right-hander, indeed, down this semi-stretch. Indeed, I'm getting comments here from Mattis in the chat. So stupid. Oh, it's a shame. It must have been a DNF by accident. That's a real shame. So Mattis is out of quali. And, oh dear, Mattis out of qualifying. Did not go to plan. As we now see Jarno Opmeer coming into the latter stages now of this outlap. We're going to be seeing a contingent of cars. You see the Williams there of what I believe to be, it could either be Ruben Vallejo there or Sven Noller. They're in behind as well. Alessio Di Capo is there as well. Here comes Jarno Opmeer round the final corner to commence his fast lap. What's the Dutchman going to set here today? Is he going to go quicker than Barry Burman? We're going to try and break some records here today, folks. As he come round the next right-hander now. And this will be turn 1 heading down towards turn 2. And he is leading the contingent of cars down towards this and these initial few bends. As you can now see the Alfa Romeo coming into the first few corners, the semi-chicane out round turn 3 now. And the Flying Dutchman looking to once again cause or put a spoke in the wheel of Barry Burman. The absolute phenomenal battles we've had between these two across this season have been nothing short of breathtaking. As we now see Jarno making his way around the next right-hander. He's got another right to take. And very soon it'll be another right-hander before a left. And you can just see Jarno there, the Flying Dutchman, looking to do just that. Barry's out as well. Barry's out as well. That outlap has come crashing down. Jarno Opmeer has a chance of sniping the lead here in this qualifying session. If he can get pole, what a damning thing that could be for Barry Burman in context of the race. P1 could matter so much in wet weather conditions that we've been predicted to have. And Ruben Vallejo's out as well. Drivers dropping out left, right and centre. Williams down to one driver. Sven Noller out on track as we now see Jarno coming into Sector 3 now. And he certainly feels that he can go quicker than Barry Burman here. Comes out of that bend now, heading down the stretch towards turn 17 very soon. Turn 18 will beckon the final corner before he registers his final lap. Here comes Jarno Opmeer, P1. Oh my word! Half a tenth of a second, virtually separating Barry Burman and the Flying Dutchman, who strikes again. Phenomenal scenes here at ORL. We have seen it all here today. The Dutchman's done it again. Spoke in the wheel of Barry Burman. It's going to be the Alpha on pole position for the start of the Russian Grand Prix, folks. Absolute scenes. Gotta say, absolutely phenomenal. Jarno Opmeer, he never fails to amaze us here at ORL, and certainly the fans watching on in their absolute droves. Certainly the Pogmere Collective are enjoying this. Veloce Jarno Opmeer is the P1 sitter for the Russian Grand Prix. Barry Burman P2, Simon Vigang in P3, Danny Moreno P4, Thymon P5, great start from him this season. Mattis in P6, Casper Janssen P7, Alessio Di Capo just did not go to plan today. P8, Sven Noller P9, great quali from him. Lucas UK P10, Ben Zabo down to P11, Danny Elliott Dad can only scratch P12, Nicholas Matteo P13, Ruben Vallejo P14, Getone in P15, Falcon Nardi rounds them off in P16. But what a quali, folks. We'll be right back after this advert break. Welcome back, folks, here to ORL, back again. I got to say, wet weather has fallen upon the circuit of Russia. It was like they were predicting in the chat box, folks. So obviously the setups, as some have suggested, are wet. So we're going to be seeing some real interesting scenes here. A lot of the drivers are going to have to try and negotiate their way around in very extreme conditions, which is going to be extremely interesting. I've been corrected in the live chat with regards to Simon Vigang's name. Of course, it's Vigang. I'm now being suggested to apologise there, folks. Obviously, pronunciations, I got to say, for a lot of drivers can be a bit tricky, so do apologise. but absolutely unbelievable. We're going to be joining now with the action out on track. It's going to be unbelievable to see what happens here, and I've got to say the strategies are going to be completely undone with certainly the tyre choices coming into effect. Everyone's on mediums now, and it means that everyone's pretty much on an even keel, despite the fact that Jarno Watmir is now on P1, probably registering a dry setup if you consider the time that he actually set. Which was a 128 in the mid 128s, which is absolutely unbelievable. Barry Burrowman left relegated to P2 at the finest of margins, which is absolutely unbelievable to see, and it certainly means we're going to have some very, very amazing talking points going into this race. And I cannot wait to see what happens. VSR Thyman, of course, exciting on his first visit to ORL. It's certainly in the official A-Split Racing. On his brand new PC system. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, especially after his emphatic victory in Thursday Thunder. Looks to be struggling with the grip levels on the track. Obviously, Russia on its own, track limits can be a bit devastating, but in wet weather conditions, it's going to really test the drivers and their aptitude in order to try and manage the circuit, given that it's going to be extremely slick out there. The intermediates, of course, providing some grip, but maybe not enough for these drivers to negotiate. Certainly, it takes a lot of skill in order to coordinate a car around a track like this, certainly given the horsepower that these cars are behind. 1,000 brake horsepower behind these cars, and despite them being all under equal performance, it's down to the tenacity of the drivers and their skill levels in order to maximize their results on track. We're now seeing the drivers make their way around the latter stages of Sector 3. Jarno Watmir just crawling them round now, and very soon they'll be taking their positions on the grid slots. But it's going to be absolutely unbelievable, folks. Register your hashtags there. I want to see pedal to the metal there in the chat. It's going to be a corker. Can Sauber register another victory under the banner of Jarno Watmir? It's going to be interesting to see as they now make their way onto their grid positions. In behind, Barry Burrowman just eagerly watching what goes on with that Alpha on the P1 spot. He lines up alongside him. Very soon we'll be starting this Russian GP, folks. Simon Vigang joining the party as well. P3 he is at this moment in time. But keep it with us, folks. It's going to be sensational as the cars get ready to rev up. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, the fifth light! And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go! Jarno Watmir gets away well in by Barry Burrowman. Danny Moreno, what a phenomenal start up to P3. Simon Vigang up into P4. It's the Casper Janssen home. Jarno Watmir just whirling all across the track, trying to break any sort of slipstream that Barry could possess. Simon Vigang goes for a late move there on Danny Moreno, nearly gets it off. He goes wheel to wheel there. Some drama out on the track. Alessio Di Capua up to P7. Scenes here at the start. Battles here as Simon Vigang goes the long way around, trying to tackle that McLaren of Danny Moreno on the inside there. Casper Janssen trying to join the party here, coming down the straight. It's still Simon Vigang nestling himself into P4. Danny Moreno, a phenomenal start, allows him to hold on to P3. An incredible move there, indeed, from Danny Moreno off the starting slots. Manages to get himself into the podium positions, and a phenomenal start to this Russian Grand Prix. None of us predicted anyone to be that aggressive, but they are, and they've made their way up through the grid positions and now nestle themselves into where they need to be as the cars settle down now. Casper Janssen, after improving on the grid order after his qualifying session that did not quite probably go to plan, he is now up to P5. A phenomenal bit of movement there from Casper Janssen. I'm sure that his teammates in Fabrizio Donoso and Nicholas Longe will be watching on, certainly with pleasure, watching him move his way up the grid slots. Simon Vigang in P4, Danny Moreno up into P3, only a second behind of Barry Burrowman. Barry Burrowman slipping away from Jarno Watmir. 1.2 seconds is absolutely sensational. Jarno pushing already. Lucas UK making his way past, trying to nestle himself by Mattis, who is under pressure here from the McLaren. And not only that, here comes Nicholas Matteo to come and join the party as they make their way around the next round. And running wide there, Lucas UK, unable to control the car here under these wet weather conditions at Sochi. It is really tough for all these guys. Lap 3 of 27 as they make their way around the no DRS, of course, under wet weather conditions, so it's all up to the driver's skill here in this early situation. Given the weather forecast, it certainly is not going to be easy as we see Nicholas Matteo moving in on what looks to be Mattis, and indeed Mattis trying to nestle his way through, trying to hold position here to try and stop this real upstart here, Nicholas Matteo, from taking his position. He's just trying to sit in behind that there. A bit of a wobble as they nearly whack each other off, but no, they stay on track. Mattis still holding on to that necessary P5 position. Nicholas Matteo going for another move down the inside. And does he get it done? He certainly does. A great move there by Nicholas Matteo, and he does consolidate that P7 position. Great moves there by the Alpha, and here comes Alessio Di Capua wrestling there with Mattis. They make their way down the next round there. Absolute carnage here at Russia. Very difficult to keep up to speed with these folks, so do bear with me. But Alessio is hanging on and certainly manages to get that done. P8 and following the Ferrari engine Alfa Romeo dead ahead of them there, or the Ferrari Junior team, that's for sure. And we're just watching now scenes here as Nicholas Matteo is still in front of Alessio Di Capua. In behind him, Lucas UK ahead of Nicholas Matteo, who's trying to close the gap on him down to 0.3 of a second, which is unreal to see. But as we look further up, we can see that Casper Janssen has managed to catch Simon Vigang once again, and he's going to be looking to make a move on that P4 spot. Obviously, like we said before, the track conditions here at Russia not ideal, especially considering that penalties can be on offer at a very high dexterity here, as Jarno Watmir registers the fastest lap on the circuit at 1:46.760. He is now 2 seconds away ahead of Barry Burraman, which is going to really assist him in garnering the result he's looking for. Amazing to see that he's already managed to pull out some exceptional delta time ahead of that Mercedes. In behind, though, you can see Danny Moreno only 1.2 seconds behind Barry. That gap has pretty much been maintained since the start of the race. Simon Vigang also a second behind as well. Casper Janssen looking to crawl back on the rear end of Simon Vigang to try and make a move on the Haas car, which has certainly seen barrels of improvement here today. Simon Vigang certainly seems to be very capable under the wet conditions. And as long as he can keep going the way he's going, it's going to give him a great chance towards the end of this race. Casper Janssen currently 0.9 of a second, or just over that, behind Simon Vigang, as well as Lucas UK, who's just sitting behind in 6th place for the McLaren team. Nicholas Matteo in P7, 1.5 seconds back. Of course, he's had issues of his own out on track, but I can imagine he'll certainly be up for this. He is still being chased down by Alessio Di Capua, who is only 1.2 seconds behind him now. That delta time has closed up ever so slightly. And indeed, Alessio's going to have to really push. We're not sure what he's like really in extreme wet weather conditions. It's very different in comparison to obviously the driver we've seen. He's been so prominent. But VSR Thyman, that is the story so far. Down literally 0.7 of a second behind Mattis after that incredible qualifying performance. He just did not get the start he wanted. But at the end of the day, he is left fighting. He's still chasing Mattis there for that P9 spot. And I've got to say, these drivers really careful now at this moment in time. You just see them settling down. Ben Szabo in behind Ruben Vallejo as well. Danny Elliott in P13, 7.5 of a second behind Ben Szabo. And Getone there as well. Sven Noller rounding off the contingent just behind Falconardi. But the leader is still Jarno Watmir, 2.3 seconds clear and pulling away. The Dutchman looking absolutely menacing here at Sochi. In behind Barry Burraman, 2.2 seconds back, like I said before. And still trying to run away from Danny Moreno, who's getting ever closer to that Mercedes. We're now riding on board with Danny Moreno now as he makes his way down towards the next right-hander. The McLaren car looking to once again cause drama here today. He's already won 3 Grand Prix this season here in ORL. Can he do it once again? As long as he can keep closing on the back of Barry Burraman, there is every chance he can make that a possibility as they come round the next right-hander very, very smoothly indeed into the next right. And indeed, Barry still holding on in P2, but he's losing a lot of shape in the car. The delta time is crashing down. Danny Moreno hacking at it like an axe on a tree, but a little shake and a wiggle, and he loses a bit of time, about 1/10 of a second behind Barry Burraman now. And Jarno Watmir once again careering away, 5/10 of a second gained once again on Barry Burraman. And he's absolutely marching away with this right now. Barry Burraman now in P2, still 7/10 clear of Veloce Danny Moreno. In behind Simon Vigang in P4, 1.7 seconds to boot away from Danny Moreno. Certainly doesn't look to be closing on the Spaniard, at least for the time being, but we are seeing Barry Burraman under significant pressure here, because if he at least makes one crucial error, Danny Moreno will pounce and therefore have a chance at that P2 spot. But as the time goes on, Jarno Watmir gaining upon gaining upon gaining 3.2 seconds, the gap between him and Barry Burman. He's managed to nestle yet another 2 to 3 tenths upon that of Barry Burman. Mattis as well, and Thyman doing battle as we now see a pit stop for Mattis. Now, I'm not sure whether that's a bit of damage on his car. Obviously, very tricky conditions here, or an early stop. Maybe he sees the weather becoming increasingly treacherous. Maybe a sign that wet tyres are going to be introduced into this race. We'll have to soon see, but Yardo is clear by none other than 3.3 seconds. Amazing scenes here as we now see further down Ruben Vallejo coming off the track as well. Oh, Ruben, what's he done? And VSR Thyman has gone clear of him by at least 8 tenths. In behind him, Ben Sabo, half a second back. As we now see them come around the next right-hander, Ruben Vallejo, of course, who has been ever so consistent. He can nail several podium spots. He's done it all season at several different tracks. He has got that level of consistency and is still trying to get his first race win. But albeit, he has been impressive against these esports juggernauts as he makes his way around the next right-hander. Ben Sabo chasing him in the AlphaTauri as they make their way down towards the next left as well, in the middle of Sector 2. Very soon they'll be making their way around this quick left into what will be the next right, and I'm sure very shortly down the long stretch where of course DRS would be activated if they had that option. As they make their way down the stretch now, Ruben Vallejo trying to gather back on VSR Thyman, who I think is carrying maybe just a tad bit of damage. He seems to be losing a lot of pace here down this stretch. Whether that's due to his setup, I'm not quite sure, but Ruben Vallejo given every opportunity to try and tag onto the back of VSR Thyman. So let's see how this plays out. 7.5 tenths of a second the gap at this moment in time. It's amazing to think we're only in lap 5 of 27, folks. And it's amazing to see that these drivers are obviously each throwing everything they have at each other. Certainly given that the wet weather's on the track, very low traction at a circuit like Sochi. Even in the dry, it's very, very skeptical. But if you come here in wet weather, where the track is ever so slippery, it is not ideal to say the least. Even if you are wearing intermediate tyres, like I stressed about at the start of the race session, as we now see Ruben Vallejo coming down towards turn 2 and chasing VSR Thyman, of course, who did win that Thursday Thunder race on Thursday. Bear in mind, folks, you can catch up on that Thursday Thunder race. The video is live on the ORL channel. Please do check it out. It's a new series we've introduced into the ORL League. Obviously brought to you by HyperX as well, as we now see Ruben Vallejo coming down towards the next right-hander. VSR Thyman dead ahead of him as well. You can see him right through the visor, albeit a very drizzly visor, given the fact that the wet weather is crashing down here at Sochi. Not ideal at all, as the Williams car trying to amass every little bit of traction to try and gain any sort of delta time here on the Renault of VSR Thyman, who's doing exceptionally well to maintain that 9/10 delta gap right now. Of course, DRS is none but useless here because they don't have that option. So being within a second can only mean one thing, and that means you're getting closer. As we now see Ruben Vallejo now coming down this long stretch around turn 11. Very soon it'll be turn 12, 13 and 14 when they reach the snake section of Sector 3. Thyman going maybe a little wide there, and certainly cost himself a lot of time. It's now down to half a second between him and Ruben Vallejo. Danny Moreno now within 8.5 tenths of a second between him and Barry Burman. So Danny will have a chance at sniping that P2 spot off Barry, who of course has not had the opportunity to race for Mercedes this season in the F1 Esports Pro Series. So he's going to be here tonight looking to prove a point, as we now see Thyman coming down towards the next right-hander, the final corner in this lap 6 of 27. He's now beginning lap 7, and Ruben Vallejo just skeleting in his way around this track, just trying to really grind a result out of this car, this Williams car that has been, you know, so good in levels of consistency this season for Ruben, as they come down towards turn 2 and out into turn 3. And still, the Williams still pushing, but we got to try and trace our steps back up to Danny Moreno, who is still chasing Barry Burman for that P2 spot. You can just see the spray coming off the back of Barry Burman, and that just gives you a clue as to how heavy this rain really is. Penalties have been dished out as well for Sven Noller and Falcon Nardi as well, down in 14th and 15th. So like I said before, track limits are an issue, but it's amazing to see that a lot of these drivers have yet to accrue any sort of penalties, and that's surprising given the fact that obviously wet weather conditions are causing a lack of traction, and also just the fact that, merely enough, that Russia is just a very tricky circuit to handle, even in the dry, as we now see Barry Burman trying to keep this hapless Spaniard at bay. Of course, currently 8.5 tenths is the deficit between him and the Mercedes as they come round into Sector 3 now. around the next left-hander, and again, I've got to say, struggling with grip is Danny Moreno, and that's cost him about 2 or 3 tenths, and Barry Burman is still holding on to that P2 spot. Danny pushing, trying to regain the time, needs Barry to make a mistake here as they come down towards the next right-hander, and that being turn 17, turn 18 will be next. Currently seeing Nicholas Matteo within that second gap of Lucas UK, who's now also within a second of Casper Janssen, who is, I gotta say, not making any ground on Simon Weigand, but he's going to be under pressure himself now as Lucas UK is currently whittling away at that delta time. And still, as the drivers roll on now, you can see Lucas UK 7.5 tenths of a second. The clouds are still roaring above these drivers and above the Sochi circuit, the Sochi Autodromo here at Russia. And Lucas UK really pushing the limits of the track right now, brushing over the curbs. Casper Janssen as well, really trying to hammer home, trying to really push and prod to try and separate himself from this attack, from this McLaren. McLaren's currently in P3 and 6, so some good points available here for the McLaren team, who are still chasing Mercedes in the championship. Quite a significant points gap between Mercedes and McLaren in the ORL Championship right now. Mercedes on 278 against McLaren's 130, so McLaren really do need to get a good result here today, though Barry Burman in P2 will surely collect good points as long as he stays where he is. Jarno Watmir cruising away with this right now. He is on his own by around 3.8 seconds. Which I got to say, he's going to be left untouched, at least for the time being. The rest of these drivers, though, trying to really claw their way up further through the grid order. And Lucas UK trying to do just that. 7 tenths of a second behind Casper Janssen. He has now brought that to within 6 tenths of a second, so he is gaining every straight, which just goes to show that the straight line speed on the setup of this McLaren is far better than that of the Renault. Casper Janssen really struggling amongst these wet weather conditions, is trying his best to keep this upstart Lucas UK away from him here. He's now well within the gearbox of Casper Janssen. You can see that Renault logo on the back of the rear wing of Casper Janssen as they come down towards the next right-hander now. And Jarno Watmir goes quickest again with a 146.391. So he's nailing fast lap after fast lap. Now really starting to move his way up into the 4-second deficit between him and Barry Burman at this moment in time. And again, the tension keeps rising here at Sochi. As the race keeps going on, the wetter it gets, the harder it will be. These drivers really doing their best to try and cultivate the best result possible. Casper Janssen doing his best to hold off Lucas UK right now, in behind Nicholas Matteo, joining the party, because as Lucas UK slows down, it will allow Nicholas Matteo in to have a chance of maybe also tackling a result his end as well. Of course, he's going to be looking to get a podium, which he's been so unlucky and unable to achieve. He's really quick, as young Nicholas Matteo, obviously signed to BDG this season. Brutal Democracy Gaming taking on him and Ruben Vallejo as well. Two very classy drivers, two young hopefuls for the future, as we now see Lucas UK still hightailing it against Casper Janssen in behind as well. Nicholas Matteo pushing now. We're still only in lap 9 of 27 here, folks, and only a third through this Grand Prix. It's been absolutely astonishing to see these drivers cultivating their way around Russia. It's really tough out there, as we're now seeing Lucas UK pushing once again, 6 tenths of a second the gap, and once again using that straight line speed to close the gap on Casper Janssen. He's now, oh, a shaky move there from Casper, as indeed it looks like it might have been a decent Casper there, and really swerving earlier on. Whether that was him, we're not quite sure. It might have been a glitch. But Lucas UK, as a result, is closing the gap once again. Casper Janssen really struggling for grip now. And as they make their way around this next left, Lucas UK, the closest he's been in a long while to the rear end of Casper Janssen now, heading down towards turn 17. You get to think that certainly going down the stretch after the final corner, that Lucas UK is going to have his chance. They come round turn 18. And Lucas UK waiting patiently to see if he can actually strive and perform a little manoeuvre here on Casper Janssen as they come down towards round turn 1 now, heading down towards turn 2. Lucas UK looking to get as close as he can. The Casper Janssen moves in on the inside. No, just has a little look. Not quite ready for an overtake just yet. Casper a little shaky coming out of turn 3. And once again, Lucas UK with every chance of trying to throw down a huge result here. Can he make that crucial overtake? Casper's doing well to hang on and still remains in P5, and again manages to improve his delta time up to half a second. Great bit of driving there from Casper, and it truly has been a real dogged fight between these two. In behind, we have got Nicholas Matteo as well, trying to push and prod on the back of Lucas UK, probably just happy to see, or wait and see at least, to see if Lucas UK can get a move done on Casper to try and upset the balance of this race, as we now see them wind their way through Sector 2 now. Very soon, make their way through the next right-hander. And very soon they'll be bombing down that long stretch. Of course, we're in double digits now in terms of laps now, folks. And very fortunate to see, touch wood, that we've had no incidents in this race so far. Obviously, bar that mere incident between Matthias as well. A lock up there from Lucas UK coming through the next right-hander. Not ideal whatsoever. Of course, Jan Watmere looking to increase his gap on the driver's standings. Of course, it won't matter. He's already champion, but still careering away with it. 324 points for the Dutchman. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. He certainly seems to be owning this circuit right now as they come down towards the stretch here, leading down towards turn 1. And I got to say, he's been absolutely impressive this season. He's now in lap 11 of 27 and really pushing as well. In behind Barry Burman, 4.4 seconds. A little slip there from Jarno as he makes his way through the first few corners. Veloci, Danny Moreno as well, trying to close the gap on Barry Burman. These two, of course, in esports teams themselves. Danny Moreno driving for McLaren, Barry Burman for Mercedes. They are as they are here at ORL. As now we see Lucas UK finally begin to close the gap on Casper Janssen once again. 0.3 of a second only between these two. Casper Janssen in the Renault trying to hold firm, but he's got Lucas UK, a very imposing Lucas UK, trying to close the gap. I mean, of course, Lucas UK has really been battling hard this season to maintain a good, strong string of results. He hasn't had it all his own way, but he's certainly been pushing. Gets a lot of stick from using Racing Line on many races, and certainly he's been told on many occasions to turn it off. I know he gets a lot of jokes thrown his way, but he does do his best as our Lucas UK. We love him really. Casper Janssen there in P5. Still pushing and prodding, trying to get away from this McLaren, as we now see him behind as well. Nicholas Matteo still stuck in behind that of the McLaren. These three have pretty much been together right through since the start of this race. Absolutely phenomenal from these consistent drivers who have given us certainly many things to scream and shout about through this season. It's been absolutely astonishing to see the development of the drivers here in ORL. We've been so fortunate, folks, to oversee that through the course of this season. It's been absolutely stunning as we now see Lucas UK once again bounding on the back of Casper Janssen, who is still trying to hold off Nicholas Matteo, watching all this unfold dead in front of him here, as Lucas UK now chooses to opt for the pit lane. If he's not going to beat him on track, maybe beat him through the strategy. And indeed, Lucas is the first man to pit in terms of a strategy sense, I believe. Maybe looking to put on the wets, because I certainly don't see it drying up here, folks. It's going to be interesting as we are seeing Roman Vallejo opting for the pit lane as well. This could mean a lot of things. Maybe the track is getting wetter. Maybe wets are the option, unless they're putting on another set of inters, which I believe they could well be, and they are indeed, I think, as they now come out of the pit lane. And indeed, Lucas UK still on inters, so's Ruben. And we're now on board now with Alessio Di Capo, who's still trying to close the gap on Nicholas Matteo. Of course, Alfa Romeo listed, of course, as the apprentice to Ferrari on many occasions. They're not showing that in the world of esports. Jan Watmere, of course, dominating F1 esports like well, I shouldn't say dominating, but he's on top in F1 esports. Dominating here in ORL, though, winning the Drivers' Championship. And certainly looks like they're going to win the Constructors as well if they keep this up. Of course, only a handful of races left in the ORL season as well. And what a great season it has been too, as we now see Alessio coming around the next right-hander. He's still chasing that of Nicholas Matteo. And Nicholas Matteo is currently 0.8 of a second behind Casper Janssen, looking to prod his way through this grid order. He's got a lot of work to do, as our young Nicholas Matteo is still pushing and trying to make a name for himself here in ORL. And he's certainly done just that through his history in this league, as they now come through Sector 3 proper. Casper Janssen now has a different fight on his hands. Instead of it being Lucas UK, he has got Nicholas Matteo as Casper looks to come into the pit lane, and indeed he does opt to pit, so this will allow Nicholas Matteo to come through. Barry Burman in the pit lane as well, Danny Moreno through as well. What could this mean heading into the latter start of this race? The inters are being thrown on the Mercedes once again, so the inters are the tyre of choice. Certainly has been a very slow race so far, given the conditions. We are not surprised as we now see Alessio Di Capo coming round the next right-hander. He is now ahead of VSR Thyman, who's ahead of Ben Sabo. The pits are now being opened up to a lot of these drivers now. Daniele Haddad as well in the pits. Falcon Nardi's moved up a few places despite that penalty that he accrued. Sven Noller also with a penalty against his name, as we discussed earlier on. Lucas UK out in P13. Remember, he pitted earlier as well. And Mattis still at the tail end of the field. Looking further up though, Simon Weigang up to P3, Danny Moreno in P2. Of course, Simon Weigang always found himself up in the podium spots, fighting alongside the likes of Jana Watmir and of course Barry Burremand last season in ORL. He was almost the unlucky one as he nearly oversteers there into the wall, and that is something you don't want to see, certainly here in ORL. And as we now look upon this grid lineup, Sven Noller probably the closest, or should I say Casper Janssen the closest now. And the strategy definitely paid off for Lucas UK because he's come out ahead of Casper. So he's done extremely well there to cultivate an advantage out of the pit stop. So the strategy coming into play here for the McLaren team. As we now see Casper Janssen now trying to throw down against Lucas UK, which is going to prove mightily tough because this Lucas UK is relentless and will try and hold on to his P12 as best he can. The Renault of Casper Janssen still pushing on the back of that orange McLaren. Vlonche Jana Watmir once again setting a faster time again, 1:45.932. He never fails to astonish the crowds here in ORL. Absolutely phenomenal scenes. Obviously, I want to get your thoughts in the chat as well, folks. Please do message and tell us about this race, who you think's going to win. Certainly seems to be ominous right now. Jana Watmir, 12.3 seconds clear as the pit stops come raining through. Ben Szabo in the pits, Timon in the pits, Matteo, Danny Moreno, Simon Weigang, and Alessio Di Capua staying out, at least for the time being. Jana Watmir is leading this Grand Prix by an absolute trench of a margin. 17.4 seconds the gap. Barry Burremand comes out in P3, so the strategy's paying off there for the Silver Arrows. They then make their way down towards the next right-hander, and of course being turn 2 into turn 3. And if Jarno keeps on setting hot lap after hot lap, I'm not going to call him the hot lapper, I swear, but at this moment in time he is absolutely wrecking the Delta times as he comes through. And Barry Burremand in P3 for the time being. 11 seconds behind Alessio Di Capua, in behind him Danny Moreno. Falconardi up there as well for P5. Hasn't pitted just quite yet, but he's got a penalty to his name. 13 laps amassed on those intermediates. It's only himself, Alessio, and Jarno who are yet to pit. Alessio looking to try and keep himself on track to try and build a margin before he at least pits, which I gotta say may be a useful strategy, but we will soon see. Danny Moreno still closing the gap on Barry Burremand as well. He's 2.6 seconds behind that of the Mercedes as well. Lucas UK 2 seconds behind Simon Weigang. It's certainly all to play for at this stage. Nicholas Matteo is now also closing the gap on Casper Janssen, who is trying to really try and stretch his margin away from the Alfa Romeo, trying to gain on Lucas UK. That battle has certainly switched up since we earlier saw it. Of course, Lucas UK was trying to challenge Casper Janssen for the spot earlier on, but this time it's Casper Janssen doing all the pushing now as they now make their way through towards Sector 3 proper. Nicholas Matteo doing all he can to try and close the gap. It's these three once again, and little to what we expected in this race session. Danny Elliott still at the back and not having the more enjoyable race. He has in fact pitted, he's got fresh tyres on, but the race certainly has not gone to plan for the Racing Point, as we have seen yet again more changes. Falconardi finally coming in for his stop, and that means that there are only two drivers left out on track that are still yet to pit. Jana Watmir, who is 18 seconds ahead of Alessio, and Alessio himself who needs to pit. He's separated by 10 seconds between him and Barry Burremand, so it's still up for grabs here, folks. Barry Burremand still pushing. If the pit stop doesn't go to plan for Jana Watmir, Barry Burremand could get closer to that top spot. So it's all answers on a postcard here, folks. Lap 15 of 27. We have got 12 laps remaining here at Russia, and despite it being fairly low, a low energy race in terms of overtaking, certainly has been an interesting one, or an intriguing one in terms of strategy. This wet weather not letting up at all, and they're all opting to stay on the inters. I got to say, it's a miracle that we haven't seen more penalties than what we already have done, of course. And as I say, like, Lucas UK has picked one up, and of course that makes it 3 drivers with penalties accrued in this race, as we now see Casper Janssen rounding the next right-hander, still trying to close the gap on Lucas UK. Of course, if the penalties work themselves out, it means that Casper Janssen will go ahead of the McLaren as they make their way down the stretch now. Round turn 11, heading down towards turn 12. And soon turn 13 will beckon. They have Sector 3 ahead of them as they come round the next right-hander now. The next left, they'll try and cruise round, try and swallow some of the curb and sort of edge their way out of that apex. In the distance, you can see Simon Weigang as well in P5. Ahead of him, Danny Moreno. The gaps are very, very mountainous here. The only one that's closer is Timon and Vallejo. Ruben Vallejo is still in P9, but being chased down by VSR Time. And of course, as Alessio Di Capo has indeed pitted. So interesting scenes here today now as we see the Ferrari come into his pit box. And in fact, he's just coming out now. He's on the intermediate tyres, so he really needs to push now. It's going to be a real tough... stiff test now for Alessio Di Capo, and certainly a test of character as he now leaves the pit bay. Ruben Vallejo now looking to come past him as well, like he does. Thyman as well coming through. It looks like Alessio's going to come out ahead of Thyman, who is not able to stretch into that P9 spot, but he is in P10. Thyman still running away and trying to close the gap on Alessio. This could be an intriguing battle because, of course, Alessio certainly not shy to make overtakes. They now make their way around the next left-hander. Ruben Vallejo still in P8 and owning it right now. Thyman in P10, of course. We saw what he did in Russia on Thursday night. He was impressive. We know about his aptitude. We know about his skill. He has plenty of it as they make their way around the next right-hander. And I've just seen as well, Jarno Watmir has accrued a penalty. 3 seconds listed on the Dutchman. And Barry Burremand is now in P2. 4.2 seconds the gap. And this could be crucial. Barry Burremand in with every chance of upsetting the Dutchman's day. The phenomenal siege here. 3 seconds for the Dutchman. Barry's already pitted. Jarno's still yet to pit. And the drama is heightened up. I'm not sure quite what happened, but the delta time has literally come down. We did not see what happened there. Scenes there. And as you can see, whether that's a glitch, I cannot understand why the delta time. Obviously, I think that was due to the pit stop. But it's amazing to see it come crashing down as rapidly as that. Barry Burremand already 4.5 seconds clear. Jarno's going to have to get his boots on here and stretch the time because he's got 5 penalties for speeding, apparently, according to King Mash, which is going to be intriguing. We have been informed by Box in this lap that it is 3 seconds, which I'm not sure which to believe. We've been told apparently he's got 5 seconds. In accordance to the chat, so this is going to really upset Jarno Watmir's win here today. If he is not careful, he's going to have to push. And Jarno Watmir, Barry's got something to fight for here as they now make their way down the stretch now around sector 1. He's got a right-hander, and this race is now starting to hot up. Barry knows he's got a chance here. If he's spoken to Jeff would have informed him that Jarno's got a 5-second penalty, which will certainly upset the Dutchman's chances. You can see that Barry's trying to push because he's testing the track limits, as we now see Jarno Watmir coming around the next right-hander. That Barry Burremand coming around the next right-hander. Jarno is now pushing, and he's coming around the right-hander now. Now he's 5 seconds clear. He's now broken that gap between him and the penalty. A 10th now on top of it, so he is now leading this race. He needs to push harder in order to try and clinch that P1 spot at the end of this race. It's now or never for Jarno Watmir. He's got to get it done here on this track and push every apex possible. It's going to be a stiff test here for the Dutchman unless he comes round any roadblocks here. Is going to be a real test for him. As you can now see Barry Burremand pushing as well. He knows he needs to go quicker to try and close that delta time, as Nicholas Matteo is managing around here on Casper Janssen. Gets the job done, young Nicholas Matteo into sector 3 now. P6 for the other Alfa Romeo. He is moving his way through the grid order. Good points here for Alfa Romeo if they can hold on to these spots. McLaren also with him with a good chance as well. Another battle here as we see Alessio fighting on Ruben Vallejo. It's hotting up here in the second half of this Grand Prix. It's been phenomenal here as we now see a little tap there, very close there from Ruben Vallejo. It's getting closer and closer in between these drivers, as well as Thyman, who's also trying to close the gap. Absolute scenes here coming down the stretch here in lap 18 of 27. Here comes Thyman in ahead of him as well. Ruben Vallejo trying to close the gap on Alessio Di Capo after losing that position, but no, it's going to be Alessio who's improving on that gap. He is now 4.6 clear at this moment in time. Alessio still holding on. That gap now 0.5 of a second clear, and indeed as they make their way around the circuit, it's going to be Alessio holding on to that P8. But the story here, folks, is of course that Jarno Watmir is in P1, Barry Burremand in P2 and trying to close the gap, but at the moment he has lost 0.6 since we last spoke. So indeed it's Jarno Watmir's race as long as he keeps the delta times up. Absolutely outstanding scenes here at Russia, and I gotta say, I do apologize, folks, my voice obviously taking a battering here today. Not having a co-com can be a very stiff test, so do forgive me as I take a swig of my drink. It's going to be a very interesting one indeed. Barry Burman currently in P2. As long as Jarno doesn't get another penalty, he will be winning this race if things stay the way they are. Barry Burman now 6 seconds back. So he's a second clear of the penalty now is Jarno Watmere in behind Danny Moreno, who's 1.5 seconds back. If he's got anything about him now, he will challenge Barry Burman for that P2 spot. And I'm sure Jarno Watmere will be very gracious of that because, of course, it'll take the pressure off himself because Barry will be too worried about defending that P2 spot as they come down the stretch now here in lap 19 of 27. It is still Jarno Watmere leading this Grand Prix. Further back, Barry Burman, 5 laps accrued on those intermediate tyres in P2. P3 for Danny Moreno, who is still trying to push on the back end of the Mercedes. We're seeing a move here by Getone, and indeed he is trying to get by that of Mattis as well, but he's got past Danny Elliott. It looks like Ben Sabo's come into the pit lane and indeed looking for a stop. I'm not sure whether this is because of a front wing issue, and it looks like there's a front wing in the hands of the engineers, and it is an end plate missing on the front of the AlphaTauri. Relegates Ben Sabo to the back of the grid. Getone getting very close into the back of Mattis as well. So we're going to be seeing battles all across the grid now. It's starting to hot up here at Russia as they make their way around the next left-hander, this being turn 3, heading down towards turn 4 now. And Mattis still holding on to that P11 spot. Getone in P12, and still he's under pressure. Running wide there is Sven Noller, trying to grip onto every part of this track. He has got a penalty against his name. We've got penalties against Ruben Vallejo, as well as Lucas UK and Jarno Watmere, of course, who's currently leading this Grand Prix. And as they go on now, you can now see a contingent of cars here. Getone in the Red Bull, who's being pressurised by Danny Elliott, the Italian, of course, the passionate Italian, who has given us so many great moments in F1 esports, is once again trying to really push at this moment in time. I see a comment in the chat, Simeone Pizzera. At this moment in time, Jarno Watmere has got 5 seconds of penalties at this moment in time. He is currently 6.9 seconds ahead of Barry Burman, which means he is 1.9 seconds ahead of the penalty. Which will mean that Jarno still will win this Grand Prix if things stay the way they are. 7 laps remaining in this race. Getone in behind P11 sitter Mattis. Mattis trying to push as well. 5.5 seconds in behind Thyman, who is now a second back from Ruben Vallejo, who's doing well to maintain his delta gap. Looking further back though, Danny Elliott, who we're currently riding on board with, currently 0.4 seconds away from Getone, and may have a chance here as they make their way down the stretch underneath the start-finish line here to join their lap 20 of 27. 7 laps remaining here, folks, here in this Russian Grand Prix, and it's still all to play for in terms of podiums. Barry Burman may be in P2, but Danny Moreno looking to put a spoke in the wheel here. He's 1.1 seconds behind that of Barry Burman, and if he keeps pushing the way he does, all it takes is one mistake here at Sochi and the tyre grips to be worn off for there to be an incident, because of course Barry Burman has wrestled 6 laps on his inters. Danny Moreno has wrestled 5. Jarno Watmere in the clear, only 3 laps on his. As we now see Lucas UK with another 3-second time penalty. That'll mean Nicholas Matteo will move up to P5 if things stay the way they are, because of course Lucas UK has already got a penalty to his name, and that makes it 6. So that will allow Nicholas Matteo and Casper Janssen, well, potentially, to move up to P5 and 6, dropping Lucas UK down to P7. Absolute scenes here at Russia. Alessio Di Capo having a very difficult race himself, not coping with the wet weather conditions here at Russia. I don't think he was quite prepared for it to be as wet as it was, and the Italian this time will not feature at the top end of this race, as we now see Nicholas Matteo rounding the next right-hander, coming down towards what will be turn 17 into what will be turn 18. Still, we see Getone trying to ride on the back of CRG Mattis. This battle still raging on, folks, as they come down into sector 3 proper now, into the next left-hander. Mattis still holding on to that P11 spot, being gunned down by Getone in P12, who's looking to push Danny Elliott as well in P13 in the Racing Point. A little lock up there from Getone, struggling for grip out there is the Raging Bull as they come round the next right-hander. Mattis still in P11. The Red Bull, is it going to give Getone wings here as they come down the straight now? The paddock on the right-hand side, of course, the pit lane, all lit up in expectation, waiting for the Red Bull to maybe trump the Haas car here as they make their way down towards turn 2. And still, Mattis holds on to that P11 spot, but the battle will still rage on in behind Danny Elliott. So got a perfect view of all of this, as well as Sven Noller, who has got a penalty penalty to his name, so he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to try and accrue a little bit of position gains on his race at this moment in time. Thyman has also got a battle on his hands as well, currently 7.5 tenths behind Ruben Vallejo. I've got to say, it's been absolutely tremendous here as we now see the likes of Danny Moreno whittling it down to a second now as things stand. As we look further up, you can see Barry Burman in P2. Now getting closer and closer to the front end of Danny Moreno, who is really starting to push down the Spaniard, looking to improve his podium prospects here. If he can get into P2, that would be a huge coup for him, certainly given the fact that he had such a grandiose start here in this race. Managing to get himself up towards the front end very, very quickly before turn 1 and turn 2. As Barry Burman now rounds the final corner of lap 21 into lap 22 now. Jarno Opmeer clear now by 7.5 seconds. He has got the race in the palm of his hands right now as long as he does not lose it. Currently, 5 laps remaining here at Russia, folks. Barry Burman still in P2, holding off the Spaniard, the machine, Danny Moreno, who is in P3 currently, under a second, just over 8 tenths of a second behind that of Barry Burman. He is still fighting tooth and nail to close that gap. If only he had DRS, he would be in DRS catchment now. As things stand as they round turn 3 into turn 4 now, heading down this semi-stretch towards turn 5. And still, Barry Burman holding on to that P2, but for how long? The delta gap still within 9 tenths of a second. As they round the next right now, Barry Burman literally trying to grip every apex to actually exude any kind of speed out of this Mercedes as they come down the stretch now towards the next left. And still, Barry fighting hard. Danny Moreno doing all he can. He's down to 8 tenths of a second now. He's doing extremely well. Back up to 9 tenths now. Literally, it's a quest for domination here between these esports juggernauts. It doesn't end at the Pro Series, folks. It's wherever they race. They want to prove their points, prove their mettle here in this Grand Prix. It doesn't matter if it's ORL or if it's the Pro Series, folks. Every result matters. As we now see these two enter into Sector 3 now. Barry Burman still in P2, being closed down by Danny Moreno, who as they make their way down towards turn 15, still prodding on the back of the Mercedes as they make their way round turn 15, turn 16 now. The wet weather still crashing down here at Russia. Very soon they'll be making their way around the final 2 corners of lap 21 into lap 22 shortly. Jarno Opmeer, into lap 23. Jarno Opmeer has already crossed the line. He has now got 4 laps before he strikes victory into the veins of the Dutchman as they now make their way down the stretch now, rounding turn 1. Barry managing to get some traction here, making his way up to 9.5 tenths of a second clear of that of Danny Moreno. Leave your predictions in for the end of this race, folks. I want to see your updated predictions based on what we saw at the up to now anyway. Obviously since qualifying a lot has happened in terms of battles and also obviously the conditions that have affected the outcome of this Grand Prix. I want to see your quotes for driver of the day as well. I want to see your comments. Leave them in the chat window, folks. I want to hear from you. We'll read those out at the end as well. Getone is still battling it out with Sven Noller and Daniele Haddad as well. That battle's still raging on as well. Still lots of prospects in at the end of this Grand Prix as Danny Moreno is close to the gap even more now. He's literally half a second away from Barry Burman, who's now rounding the next left-hander. The Mercedes still pushing as the McLaren of Danny Moreno still guns for it here. Heads in Sector 2 around the next right-hander. Driver of the day, Simon Weigang, says King Mash. I gotta say, you might be right. P4 currently for the German driver as we now see Barry Burman rounding the next right-hander now, which is turn 11, heading down towards turn 12. And certainly as we now see Danny Moreno riding on board with him now, 6.5 tenths of a second behind Barry Burman, waiting to pounce on every single mistake that Barry makes. We're literally throwing everything into this, and Danny's got a penalty. Danny's got a penalty, and indeed that's going to prove to be costly because Simon Weigang now has every chance of getting on the podium here. Amazing scenes here as we now see Barry Burman rounding the next right-hander. He's in the clear. Technically now 3 seconds will separate them in terms of a penalty. And Barry will be able to now career away and know that he's got that P2 for the time being. But behind him now, Simon Weigang will have every chance because he's only 2 seconds back on Danny Moreno and literally in touching distance of his own podium spot. So it's going to be absolutely unbelievable to see. The penalties have started being accrued, of course, folks. I've got to say credit to the drivers. It's taken this long for many of them to get penalties in this race. They now round the next left-hander, of course, is being turn 3, heading round towards what will be turn 4. Down the stretch now towards turn 5, still Barry Burman in P2, and he will remain there for as long as it lasts. Danny Moretto, who is in P3, still trying to push and hammer home here. Jarno Opmeer, though, still careering away with this P1 spot, and it looks like it's where he's going to remain here. 9.1 seconds the gap between him and Barry Burman. It's been an astonishing drive here from Jarno Opmeer. Once again, he wows the spectators. He's been on his own. I can imagine he's probably steering with his feet right now on the grid order. Of course, we've seen him do it one-handed at Monaco as well, aiming to set the world record, certainly for a lap time around this street circuit. But as we now see, the Dutchman rounding the Sector 3 section of this circuit once again here in lap 24. He has been absolutely sensational. He's still got another 3 laps remaining, but if he keeps going in this vein of form, he's going to be careering away with it. And you get the feeling that Barry Burman is going to be happy to hold on to this P2 spot, given the fact that Danny Moreno has got a penalty now, so he can sort of let off a little bit here and maybe just try and keep his position. As we now see Jarno Opmeer rounding the next right-hander. Looking further down, we've still got the battle raging on between Get Owned and Mattis. And these string of cars are still having it out here. There's been no changes, bar the fact that Thyman is starting to drop back away from Vallejo there, further through the grid. As you can now see, Sven Noller coming into play as well. He's actually passed Daniele Haddad, and so Haddad is now relegated down to P14, but Noller's got a penalty. So I can't imagine Daniele Haddad to be too concerned about that, considering that he'll get the place back. But Getone is still on the rear end of Mattis right now as they round the final corner, heading up through the straight now and leading up towards turn 1 here in lap 25 to 27. 2 laps remaining here, folks, at the Russian Grand Prix. Jarno Opmeer still in front. Barry Burman in P2. Danny Moreno, his 3rd place in jeopardy here with Simon Vigang now 1.5 seconds. He's getting closer. He's taken 0.5 of a second off the Delta time as Simon Vigang trying to consolidate that podium, in which case will aid his points gathering immensely heading into the latter stages of this season. As we now see Mattis now making his way around the next right-hander, currently in P11, albeit though the penalty that he accrued earlier on is going to prove costly because Getone is going to rise above him in this race, which will mean he'll now be in P11. Of course, VSR Thyman is in with a chance as well. As long as he can keep close, he can get into P9 as well. Alessio Di Capo has also got a penalty in P8. He is going to stay in P8 as long as he can stay above Ruben Vallejo by 3 seconds at least. He does not want to fall behind that 4.5 seconds gap because it certainly will jeopardise his P8 spot to that of VSR Thyman, who is currently in P10, sitting pretty there, looking to go ahead of Ruben Vallejo at the end of this race. You can now see Get Owned looking to move here on CRG Mattis, having a little nose down the inside. No move to be made just yet. The Red Bull still crawling all over the back of the Haas, and he'll be happy to stay there at least for the time being. He's currently 0.3 of a second in behind that of the Haas car now. Jarno Opmeer is now in lap 26 of 27. And only in, well, 2 laps remaining here in this Grand Prix, which is going to be absolutely unbelievable scenes here, folks. Nothing short of a dynamic race here. Even given the fact that the weather's been coming down, the overtakes have been few, the DRS has been lacking because we haven't had it due to the wet weather. Daniele Haddad now really close to the back of Sven Noller. Sven Noller, as a result, very close to the rear end of Getone as they come down towards turn 1. Rounding that, heading down towards turn 2 now towards the chicane. And still, Get Owned, still holding on to that P12 position. Oh, a late break there from Sven Noller, nearly going into the back there of Get Owned's Red Bull as they round the next left-hander, that being turn 3. Mattis still holding on to that P11 spot. Despite his penalty, he's going to lose it later on because Sven Noller and Get Owned, Daniele Haddad, they're all probably going to make their way through, though not Sven Noller, of course, because he's got a penalty too. As they round the next right-hander, still, it's Mattis leading the contingent of cars around, albeit for now, as we now see Getone trying to ride on the back of the Haas. Still, the motoring goes on. The race continues. Getone still pushing, still holding on to that P12, gunning all over the back of Mattis right now, as they round the next left, heading round towards the next right-hander. Indeed, it's still Mattis. The gap being increasing, though, from Sven Noller and Getone right now. Of course, Sven Noller has a penalty of his own. He wants to try and accrue the best result possible in order for Daniele Haddad not to not to grid hop him in this race. But of course, Daniele Haddad only 0.2 of a second back on that of Sven Nölle right now as they make their way down towards the next right-hander. And Jarno Watmir has started the final lap of the race. We just missed an overtake there as Daniele Haddad now tries to cruise his way around Sven Nölle and gets it done. He overtakes that of the Williams, but gets a penalty in the process. A great overtake indeed on the lap before the final lap, on the penultimate lap. And let's take another look at that again. I think we can just get the footage there as we just see we just hit a battle once again here. Indeed, it's Sven Nölle fighting back on Falconati, who's trying to get the overtake done, but he holds on, and it does not happen for him just yet. But as we're looking further up, Ghetto still trying to push on Mattis as they round turn 1, heading down towards turn 2, and still no overtake made just yet for Ghetto, but he seems to be quite happy to be sitting behind Mattis for the time being. Ahead though, Jarno Watmir still leading this race at this time, and you can see now Falconati looking to make a move here on Sven Nölle on the inside. A 10 separates him at least for the time being. Is he going to go for a late break into the next right-hander leading into turn 4? No, he's not. He's going to hold on. Daniele Haddad throwing all caution to the wind now as he tries to chase on Ghetto, who is also closing down on CRG. Mattis goes for a late move on the outside of Mattis. No, he can't do it as my voice is on its way out, folks. We now see Mattis trying to go around the next right-hander, and indeed he still holds on, at least for the time being. Jarno Watmir though coming round sector 3 for the final time, rounds the final corner. The Flying Dutchman does it again. Jarno Watmir is your race winner here at Russia for the Russian Grand Prix. Unbelievable scenes here. My voice is about to die. Barry Burman comes round into P2. Danny Moreno will finish behind Simon Weigang, who gets the podium. A great day for Simon Weigang after a really turbulent start there. Lucas UK P5. Amazing scenes. And absolutely unbelievable scenes. Nicholas Matteo P6. And in behind him, you got Casper Janssen in P7, Alessio Di Capua in P8, Ruben Vallejo in P9, crashing on the exit there. Mattis there in P11, Ghetto in P12. As they have a final battle. Oh my word, a collision there around the final corner. Sven Nölle trying to hold on. They're battling back around the final corner. Sven Nölle looking to do the business at the end here. But no, Daniele Haddad will hold on and gets P13. Sven Nölle P14. Falconati P15 and Benzamo P16. But Jarno Watmir is the winner. He is the winner of the Russian Grand Prix despite 2 penalties. And he has got P1. A great drive from Jarno Watmir. Richly deserved. And the Dutchman strikes again in turbulent conditions. And Nicholas Matteo is the game's driver of the day. But I think, of course, we saw that Simon Weigang was voted. Simon Weigang still wins the driver of the day result. And there we are. Jarno Watmir takes the top step of the Russian Grand Prix. A great race, folks. A turbulent race. The weather was something else. But nonetheless, we were treated to an exceptional performance here from Jarno Watmir. Despite the penalties that he accrued, he still managed to clinch that P1 spot. Unbelievable. The wonders of the Dutchman continue once again. And we're going to look at the final grid placings now. Unbelievable racing from these guys to cope in these conditions. Jarno Watmir is the P1 for the day. And he only got 1 penalty, 5 seconds accrued after speeding in the pit lane. Barry Burman P2. Simon Weigang, after Danny Moreno's penalty, gets P3. Danny Moreno down to P4. Lucas UK P5. Nicholas Matteo there in P6 for Alpha as well, getting some good points. Casper Janssen P7. Alessio Di Capua just did not happen for him today. Thyman getting into the top 10 with a P9 on his first Sunday night ORL visit. Ruben Vallejo P10. Great race from him. Of course, once again, battling in amongst the midfield. Ghetto in P11, Mattis in P12, Daniele Haddad P13, Sven Nölle 14th, Nadi P15, and Benzamo rounds off the grid order, P16. But what a race, folks. It certainly was very, very special. Very shortly, we'll be going to the interviews, the driver interviews. But what a way to round off today's race. It's been absolutely nothing short of clinical. We've been treated to some great racing. And I hope everyone in the chat enjoyed that. My voice is literally at the end of its tether. But blimey, we were treated to something really special there, folks. And the driver certainly left no stone unturned. We were so fortunate. And amazing. Absolutely amazing. The Pogbeer Academy, as Just Eva says, lighting up here. And despite the conditions that have been so treacherous, we've been so lucky to witness some phenomenal racing. And we're going to move over to the interview room now, folks, for some driver interviews. It's been absolutely tremendous. In fact, I can confirm we're joined by Speed Barry here in the comm box. Barry, how you doing?
Hello to everyone, and I can go through not well because after quali, and then when we were going to start the race, I had a cramp on my left leg, and it was really tough because I had really painful. But yeah, these things kind of happen. But yeah, GG Ono, amazing pace, and yeah, probably not happy because I think could be P1 as well, and even I lost my last running quali as well, which cost me, I would say, pole. But yeah, these kind of things will happen.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I've got to say, it was a very trying set of conditions. I mean, obviously, Russia, very tricky, even without the rain, I have to say, because obviously track limits are very testing at Russia. I mean, just how difficult was it to keep the car in regulations? Because, of course, with the weather coming down, it must have been really slippery out there.
Yeah, it was. I think my setup was too edgy in the rain, but I tested in the dry one. It was good, but yeah, in the wet, I want to be honest with you. I haven't got any pace, and maybe it will be because my left leg has a cramp. But anyway, yeah, GG to Yano, amazing pace.
Yeah, phenomenal. I got to say, your lap times in qualifying were astounding, Barry. I got to say, I was very impressed with that hot lap you set just before Yano obviously came across and tipped the balance at the end. I mean, just how difficult is it to set such a high velocity qualifying lap, given the fact that the track limits are so testing around Russia? I know I keep saying it, but it's true. Just how difficult is it to nail such a quick qualifying time around a track like Russia?
Yeah, actually, it's so difficult because like if you make already one mistake, you're gonna get warning or you're gonna invalidate your lap time. But I was quite happy with my banker. Like I did 28.7 before the last run. I think now my PB was 0.6 before last run, but I did 0.7. I was quite happy with that. But the thing is, I lost my last run because of the timing. So I got a little bit help somehow, but yeah, I lost my last run. But as you know, like my PB is 0.4, but even I will be happy with the 0.6 because in these track is kind of sended. Like if you send one corner, you will gain like 1/10.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to really leave everything on the track, haven't you? Really got to go for it. I think that's something we've seen certainly this season from a lot of the drivers, and certainly Russia's no exception. I just want to talk as well, Barry, about your F1 esports situation. I know, of course, that you're obviously signed with Mercedes, and obviously the coronavirus period has been very unfortunate for you because you've been unable to compete in the Pro Series. But obviously you're obviously still in contact with everyone in the Mercedes camp. Everything okay? And are we going to be seeing you this season?
Yeah, hopefully. I cannot confirm anything. I'll do my best, and hopefully I can have a chance to show myself.
Well, it'd be great. It'd be great to have you certainly on the show as well. And obviously, we will support you 100%, as well as every driver that represents ORL in the Pro Series. And I've got to say, you've certainly given us an astounding performance. P2 is certainly a phenomenal result. Are you going to be around next week as well?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for your kind words, and I always enjoying when you're commentating as well. Yeah, I will be racing every races in ORL, so I'm looking forward for the next one as well. I think the next one is Japan, right?
I believe it is, yeah. I did check the numbers earlier. I believe it is Japan. We'll obviously try and double check that before the end. But yes, I believe it is. We're going to be heading to Suzuka. Of course, we've only got a handful of races left. So obviously, the final championship points up for grabs. And Mercedes still very much in the Constructors' title race. Obviously, you're going to need Cyber Esports to make a few mistakes, I think, at this moment in time, Barry. But, still in with a chance of perhaps getting some sort of a championship result.
Yeah. As I said, like I'm not really attention to this, but yeah, if I have a chance or anything, I will do my best.
Outstanding. Well, I'd like to thank you, Barry. A phenomenal performance today, and we wish you all the very best. Look forward to seeing you next week as well. And we can confirm Japan next week as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you guys for your hard work as well, and have a good night.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barry. Thank you. So there we are, folks. I mean, I'm not sure whether we'll have anyone else joining us in the com box here today, but I'd just like to thank everybody for watching. In fact, we do have someone else in the interview room. We'll head swiftly back to the interview section and be joined none other than by two juggernauts themselves. I'm going to start obviously with our race winner, Jarno Watmere. Jarno, I got to say, easy pickings, wasn't it? You just turned up, took your ball and went home with it pretty much. Jarno, can you hear us? Seem to be having trouble getting a feed from Jarno. Oh, we're getting something.
You should be able to hear me now.
Yeah, we've got you now, Jarno. I just want to say, Jarno, phenomenal result. Congratulations on the P1. It seemed like you just picked up your ball and went home with it. It was that easy, really.
It obviously looked easier than it was, of course. But,
easy for us in the com box.
Yeah, I had Matthijs already practicing Sochi, so he had a good benchmark set up for me. And then, from there on, I started practicing, I think 2 hours before the race. So I didn't expect this pace, to be honest, but it felt good straight away. And but then obviously with the rain, it made it even easier, I think so. As it just suited me very well. Was be able to stay out a few laps longer. And then obviously at the pit lane speed penalty, because I thought pit lane speed was 80 instead of 60. So yeah, that was a mistake by me, but yeah, it happens. I had a big enough lead, so I led every lap at pole and fastest lap, so super happy with it.
Oh well, you know, it's a tremendous performance, I got to say, and qualifying was absolutely astounding. I mean, obviously, I think that was one of the main high spots. I mean, obviously, we didn't see many overtakes in that race here today. I think the most we saw was at the very start. But let's just talk about that qualifying session, because obviously yourself and Barry were pretty much trading blows in terms of the 128s. I mean, just how stiff was it to try and nail a hot lap like that? You were literally by the thinnest of margins ahead of Barry in qualifying. Just talk us through that. What was the pressure like down the final minutes of qualifying?
Heading into the last lap, or at least halfway through the lap, I was, I think, 1.5 tenths up on my lap. But I saw Barry backing out of his lap, so I knew he was not going to improve. And the gap to P3, P4, P5 was quite big, so all I had to do was improve by at least half a tenth. So I took it a bit easier, because it's very easy to take track limits, of course. So yeah, halfway through the lap, I took it a bit easier and just finished the lap and got pole position.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal effort, and of course, you pretty much started, or pretty much finished like you started. You pretty much led the entire race. Wasn't troubled too much. Obviously, seemed to find barrels of time going through the race. I obviously want to speak as well, because obviously, as you might have been aware of, we interviewed TRL Limitless in the ORL warm up podcast on Saturday morning. And he came out and said that he's going to be hoping to be your teammate for the next ORL season. So we're going to be seeing a real a GOAT team, should we say, between yourself and JD heading into the next ORL season for the Alfa Romeo squadron, should we say. What are your thoughts on that? You excited at the prospects of Mr. Doherty joining you on the grid?
Yeah, will be cool, definitely. He's currently on Xbox, of course. I've asked him many times to come to PC. So yeah, will be interesting, surely. Can't wait to get it started. Usually he's my race engineer, of course. In these last 2 races, he wasn't, because I had the championship already. So no really need to be my race engineer for this race. But yeah, it will be cool, definitely.
Yeah, so my question is on that basis. So obviously he's the Cyber Esports boss right now. Who's going to be teaching who what then, going through that season?
Yeah, I'm gonna be teaching him around the track.
I was going to say, quite a strange dynamic, that, isn't it?
I think he's still watching as well. So.
Yeah. Well, obviously he's very capable, because he was in the Pro Series a couple of years ago. So obviously he knows what it's all about. But obviously he's more the team governor rather than the driver these days. But it's going to be excellent to see him out on track. He's of course a very talented guy, competes in in various league races himself, and we'll look forward to seeing him there as well. Obviously, looking ahead, we've got Suzuka next week. Thoughts and feelings heading into Japan?
Yeah, I'll probably start like last or something, as we have F1 esports, so I cannot give anything away. So yeah, we'll probably be a last to first challenge or something. Yeah, we're obviously not going to give anything away.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing that nonetheless. And I wanted to ask as well, obviously, about the Esports Pro Series. Obviously, there's quite a lengthy gap in between now and obviously the period where you guys will be racing. I think it's about 17 days now. How do you feel about these long stints waiting for racing? Does it make it that much tougher? Does it make the pressure much more difficult? Would you prefer to have a strong, consistent number of races through a consistent season as opposed to the long gaps?
I'm fine with the 3-4 week gap because yeah, obviously we had, I think, 1.5 week break between event 2 and 3, which is really tough for us, as obviously only mainly me and Dani were practicing, and the likes of Red Bull and AlphaTauri were practicing with 6 people together, like all the time. So I felt like we missed out on that, and yeah, that's obviously also the reason we got Matthijs in for the last event, so he can help us with that. And yeah, I think with the 3-4 week gap, we can prepare much better, and I think that's why we also did really well in event 1, simply because we could prepare very well and get through all the details really precisely, and that I think helped us really a lot in event 1 and 2 especially, and lacked in event 3.
Yeah, well, it was certainly a superb start for yourself as well. And you're in a very prime position at the moment. So we obviously, everyone at ORL wishes you the very best of luck for the future, obviously, and for F1 esports as well. And we hope to see you next week at Suzuka, and we'll look forward to that last to first challenge as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Good man, good man. We'll move on now to Mattis, CRG Mattis. Greetings, comrade. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I hope you're well as well. Bit frustrated after the race today. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, I got to say, you showed some gallons of pace here today. I mean, obviously, conditions were pretty difficult given the rain. I obviously spoke to Barry Burremand as well. He found it quite testing. Obviously, in the McLaren today, you were battling amongst the top end. You seemed really quick and you seemed quite promising. Can you talk us through your race and to what happened as such?
Well, I had a pretty good start. I think I was going into turn 1 as P5, but then a Racing Point just thought he was alone on the track, broke super late and broke my wing. So I had to pit in lap 4. Yeah, and had to repair my wing. And from there on, my race was pretty much over. But I think I had pretty good pace. I made the undercut on them. I came out in front. And I was able to defend a train behind me on super old tires. So at the end, I'm pretty happy with my pace. But yeah, the result is just not good.
No, I mean, obviously, we know that you know your pace, you know your talent. I mean, obviously, Cyber Esports have picked you up now. I mean, how excited are you to be part of that development team? Because it's certainly full with highbrow esports juggernauts. How are you finding it? Life in the team, is it a positive camp? Are you happy with the setup, etc.?
Yeah, obviously, I'm learning a lot from Danny and Jarno now. Really positive about everything. It's going really well, and yeah, just getting confident on the PC. 'Cause, yeah, I switched from PS4, but yeah, I think it's going really well, and my pace is getting better and better because I'm learning as well from, in my opinion, the top 2 drivers on the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, how are you finding that transition between PlayStation to PC? I mean, how different really is it? Because I know we spoke to JD in the podcast on the weekend, and he said that it's such a difference, obviously due to frame rates, etc. I mean, how noticeable is it for yourself? Because I know people talk about it all the time. They throw it out there saying, there's vast differences between the two. What are your feelings into going onto the PC and the comparisons between PS4 and PC in league race conditions? How tough really is it, or how different is it?
Yeah, for me it's like a different game as well. The driving is different. Like the PC has slightly more rear grip, but yeah, compared to PS4, the input delay on PS4 is insane. You have so much input delay. I tested it after being a week on PC full time. I did some laps on PS4 and I couldn't even drive it anymore.
Wow.
So yeah, it's obviously a big difference, and yeah, I have to get confident on PC as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, you've certainly shown barrels of quality. I mean, obviously Belgium was good for you last week. You looked really prominent, and certainly looking towards Suzuka now. Again, a very different circuit. Hopefully, we get a nice dry race, so we can see the drivers at top pace. What are your feelings about Suzuka? Are you feeling confident? Is it one of your better tracks as such?
To be fair, I hate the track. I yeah, I'm just not good at it. But I'll do my best to finish on a high, show
Well,
some good pace.
Well, I mean, obviously we'll have to have a look at it. Obviously, it's a very different track to what we've seen so far. Lots of high rise corners, very testing, 90-degree left-handers and rights, and obviously hairpins as well. But obviously, with your talents, I'd imagine you'd be able to cultivate a decent result. I'd like to thank you, obviously, for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week as well, Mattis.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We're also joined by Casper Janssen, the Renault team's driver. How you doing, Casper? All okay?
Hello. Yeah, I'm okay.
Good
Thank
man.
you. How are you?
Oh, I'm dandy, fine and dandy, I have to say.
Yeah.
Obviously, a very tricky race for yourself. You didn't have it easy. There was quite a bit of battling. I think, obviously, you were very much part of that midfield encounter, and obviously very tricky to get pace in those sorts of conditions. Just talk us through your race. Obviously, wasn't an easy one out there, was it?
No, definitely not. Like, it all started in the qualifying. That wasn't great at all. Like, completely messed up the lap. But then I had an amazing start from P7, gained two positions actually. So I was quite happy with that. And then yeah, I tried to follow Simon through. But yeah, I just didn't have the pace ready, and I lost 3 positions. I mean, not 3 positions, 3 seconds in the first stint, I believe. And then um, Lucas UK made the undercut on me. So I lost another position, and then after that, after the pit stops, Nicholas Matteo overtook me. So yeah, it just wasn't great at all. But yeah, I just set up the PC. Yeah, and I'm also like trying to learn how to drive on PC with only 60 FPS because I'm playing on the TV, and now I'm back home, so it's not that great at all. But yeah, I'll get there in the end. But yeah, that's my race.
Yeah, obviously it was a tough one given the conditions and the apexes as well. You had to try and hit every single one. Obviously, it's tricky even in the dry at Russia, given the fact that there a lot of them are flat corners and you can very much struggle with the track limits a lot of the time. Obviously, looking ahead now in esports, of course, we've seen the likes of yourself, Fabrizio, and as well as Nicholas Longue. How do you feel about Renault's progress in the F1 Esports Pro Series, and how comfortable have you felt in that team setup?
Well, I think it's a great organization and everything's running smoothly now. So yeah, got actually nothing really to say about that. I'm just doing my best to help Nico and Fabrizio out to get the best performances possible. And I hope they appreciate the help because I'm really doing my best as well. And yeah.
Well, I got to say, you credit yourself well, and obviously tough battles out there in Russia. And how are you looking forward to Japan? Are you going to be racing in Japan next week, or?
In ORL, you mean?
Yeah, in ORL, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, oh, it'd be brilliant to see you there. We'll look forward to that, Casper. But in the meantime, well done on a solid performance today. Obviously, very tricky, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casper. Thank you. Simon Weigang, of course. Simon, how you doing, comrade? Okay?
Hey man, what's up?
Oh, not a lot.
I'm doing well.
You've just got me today,
doing well.
unfortunately. I was the only commentator. My voice is nearly dead, so I'll get straight to it. Simon, I've got to say, podium. You got yourself a podium. I've got to say, great battle from you today. And obviously qualifying, you set a real reasonable quali pace as well. Just how did you feel out there in the wet weather? Because you seem to master it quite well.
Yeah, a bit frustrating. felt like I was too far behind to actually make something. You know, I lost to Danny at the start position, and I also lost in the pit stops as well, like a second, and then it was pretty much just catching up to these two. And once I did, the race was over. So it was, from my side, it was very boring. But you know, I was hoping for a bit more fun on the race. But yeah, well, maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll obviously have to see if what will bring us next week. Obviously, it was certainly from the com box, not the most enthralling of races, not a lot of overtaking. So sort of had to commentate as we saw it, really. But at the end of the day, just to keep it on track, I suppose, is a measure of achievement in itself, given the fact that Russia isn't easy at the best of times. Just talk us through, obviously, strategy-wise. Obviously, there was a bit of a mix-up in pit stops, different teams going for different strategies. Were you more on the wet side where it came to a strategy, or did you put more emphasis into a dry setup out of qualifying?
I changed it to make it better in the wet. I had more wings than I usually have, and quite a lot more. So yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, I'm happy with podiums. Not much to add, to be honest. But yeah, what was the strategy wise? No, I mean, there's a straightforward strategy. You have to pit around about half of the race for another set of winters, and then there you go. So,
yeah, well, it was a good result at the end of the day. P3, can't go wrong. What do you think of Japan?
Oh, it's next week, Japan.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. It's an esports track, so I don't know how much how much people are gonna reveal their hand. If you get me.
You're gonna say, oh, you hate Japan. Don't worry, throw them off.
No, I mean, like, it's an esports track, so it's like no one's gonna go like full tilt. You know, it's just there's always this hiding. There's like hiding of pace going on for some reason, and yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll do the opposite strategy. Just don't qualify or something, and we'll see. Yeah, but it was okay.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens, obviously, during the race. And obviously, going back to esports, of course, it's been a tricky start for Haas. I know Tom Deacon supports you guys a lot. He's a big Haas F1 fan. So he was
supporting him as well.
Sorry?
I'm supporting him as well.
You're supporting Tom as well. Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's a true professional. It's Tom Deacon. A great laugh as well. Great character.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, looking forward, you seem to be bringing back some positive results. I think you mentioned you had an issue with your hardware as well earlier in the season. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. In the first event, there was an issue, and also on Zandvoort, but afterwards it was okay.
Yeah, and
first 4 races.
You're seeing improvements as well, are you? Given the hardware.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
after the Zandvoort race, I was in Q3 every time, except for Monza. But I just messed it up there. So it's a track where it's easy to, miss the cuts. You have to cut the corner, and if you miss it, then you're done. And I just missed it and choked a bit. So, but other than that, I was in Q3 every time, and I think very competitive. And I don't think I see a reason why that would change in event 3. And we'll try to. I think McLaren is still in our reach, like P6, and we'll try to get there. But obviously, we have to look race by race and see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to congratulate you on another podium here today. And obviously, we'll look forward to seeing you in Japan next week. And so, well done, Simon. Excellent result. And catch you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you. See you soon. See you. Well, folks, a phenomenal race once again. I got to say, a pleasure to commentate on. We were very lucky to witness some incredible racing as well. I hope everyone in the live chat enjoyed it as well. Please say if you enjoyed it in the live chat. Obviously, not the most exciting of races, but we did our best to commentate over it. But I got to say, the drivers gave a good account of themselves. We got a good selection of interviews through. Obviously, the drivers doing their best to get the best results possible in their bags. I got to say, it was absolutely brilliant. We'll look forward to, obviously, Suzuka next week. And, of course, it's going to be an absolute clinic. Like we said before, it's one of the esports tracks. May not see the full qualities of the F1 esports drivers, but nonetheless, they'll be there. And I'm sure Jarno Watmere, despite finishing or starting from the back of the grid, he'll do his damnedest to do or spring a positive result nonetheless. But I've got to say, folks, I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by here today. It's been a great pleasure calling this race for you. Of course, Jack Canan will hopefully be back next week as well. So we'll be back to full strength in the comms box. But from me, CRG Geo, We'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go.